Some of you might remember from our introductions at the beginning of this class that I'm involved with a company that seeks to connect high school students in Jakarta with an American high school curriculum through Florida Virtual School Global. The main hesitancy we get from schools and parents is that an online-based education is somehow insufficient, or will be too strange or too much of a departure from the traditional brick and mortar institution. It's a hard perspective to change, and a key principle with helping change that view is discussing student satisfaction. That was a key element in this case study of a college in Ireland who began offering a blended learning curriculum for teacher training. Hibernia College is an online college based in Dublin and offers online and blended learning degrees to students in Ireland, the UK, and internationally. According to their website, they're, quote, Ireland's only government-accredited e-learning college, unquote. They specialize in postgraduate and continuing professional development programs for students and professionals. They also use the Blackboard Collaborate LMS as their e-learning platform. By 2003, Ireland experienced a shortfall in the number of qualified primary school teachers. The traditional full-time on-site undergraduate and postgraduate programs offered by many colleges of education in the country were not able to meet the demand, and finding an alternative was critical. Hibernia College designed and developed a blended learning solution to meet this demand, and it was also the first time that online education became a cornerstone of professional teacher training in Ireland. Hibernia College created 13 modules taught through an entirely online course, a blended learning mode, and an entirely on-site mode. The following image shows the variety of delivery modes and examples highlighting the uses during their new program. The mixed delivery system means that individual course models were delivered primarily through blended learning or entirely online modes. The face-to-face components were used for tutorials and workshops where practical skills were developed and practiced. Nearly 45% of the program is delivered online. Online content is delivered through downloadable lectures and quote-unquote resources, synchronous online tutorials, forums, and blogs. Lessons were released to students on a weekly basis, utilizing interactive flash lessons, podcasts, and transcripts, which were downloadable to the students' quote-unquote workstation. A corresponding synchronous tutorial was said to have usually taken place the week following an online lesson. There, students reflected on their learning experiences through posts in the forum based on a question posed at the end of each lesson. Students were also provided with social networking tools like quote-unquote groups, file sharing, and instant messaging that allowed them to collaborate when not in the face-to-face environment. The face-to-face element of the program addressed the practical needs of teaching skills. Other on-site elements included induction, graduation, on-site exams, mandatory 14 weeks of classroom practice, and 3 weeks spent immersed in the Gaeltacht, an Irish-speaking region of the country. To facilitate the face-to-face element, Hibernia collaborated with an existing network of regional education centers to keep student travel to a minimum. Students' assessments were compared between fully online courses and blending learning courses, and data showed students scoring an average of 2 percentage points higher in the blended learning courses. Authors concluded that both online and blended delivery of course content had positive effects on student satisfaction generally, and did not affect the ability of students to perform well on formal assessments. So while students initially mentioned fears of receiving a lower quality education versus that offered through traditional on-site education providers, they were generally satisfied by the quality of the program upon completion. Students did express having felt better facilitated by one particular mode of delivery over the other. The authors report that, quote, A blended learning educational system that includes online education is a highly appropriate mode for the training of primary school teachers, unquote. Success factors, while not explicitly stated in the article, could be inferred by the student satisfaction surveys. Students found the online courses to be more convenient to study, and that may have contributed to higher performance as their effective filters would have been lowered. Quote, it allowed them to fit their learning around their lifestyles and needs, unquote. The 24/7 availability of the online courses meant more time spent with the material. Flexibility of the online model meant that content can be tailored to students' needs, reaching them more successfully. Quote, empowering them to learn in a manner that suits their own level of knowledge and learning pace, unquote. A major benefit of this problem, only mentioned briefly, is that the chief problem was met by the school being able to service a larger student population over a larger geographical region. Potential educators were no longer excluded by distance. From 2003, the teacher shortage was met and overcome by this non-traditional approach. The challenges for organizing and implementing online and blended learning deliveries is the same across all contexts. Issues like technological availability and reliability can be challenging for both the implementers and the students. As it's a non-traditional educational format, student and teacher buy-in is a challenge as well. I've experienced students to have pacing and motivation issues when faced with more self-directed responsibility. Hibernia College studied student performance, however, and found that students consistently scored higher in course modules taught through blended learning as opposed to purely online. This is a situation where blended learning and its benefit as a platform that can reach more teachers through its online component clearly met a need and solved a real problem. As we read about online and blended learning being the future of learning in Watson's 2008 article, we can use this case study as a real example. Still, we see that student satisfaction is a real concern to address when planning and implementing these modes of delivery. While the paradigm of the brick and mortar educational institution being the standard might be changing, educators and curriculum developers must be aware that the shift hasn't fully occurred yet, and students and parents' satisfaction must be addressed. As Garrison and Kanuka point out in their 2004 article, quote, the conclusion is that blended learning is consistent with the values of traditional higher education institutions and has the proven potential to enhance both the effectiveness and efficiency of meaningful learning experiences, unquote. Wu, Tennyson, and Sia have also concluded in their study of student satisfaction in blended e-learning system environments that, quote, a positive learning climate significantly affects students' learning satisfaction. This suggests that both instructors and learners should foster and motivate the positive atmosphere within the BELS learning context, unquote. And thanks for listening to this presentation.